breaking news in college football, we have the USC Trojans have fired Clay Helton 2 weeks into the college football season. And I think anybody that really followed college football kind of saw this coming. Maybe not necessarily today, the Monday after week 2, but it was going to take a lot for Clay Helton to kind of escape this year and be the head coach for USC in the 2022 season. Clay Helton had success. He had some success, taking over first Steve Sarkisian, who, was fired for cause with some of his off-the-field issues. And Helton had some success here and there. You think of the Sam Darnold years, going to the Rose Bowl, battling it out with Penn State, and that epic Rose Bowl game. But since then, it's been kind of a drop, and they haven't had the success. They've done well enough to go to bowl games and to go to the Pac-12 championship game, but they have not been the USC that they can be. And there's just always been this cloud hanging over Clay Helton, and that they were going to fire him, and then they didn't, and then he'd move on, and then he'd finish strong. And it just kept going and going, and it was just only a matter of time. And I think just that cloud and that speculation of when Clay Helton was going to get fired really hurt the program, because, it hurt them negatively with recruiting. I mean, if you're a recruit and you're saying, well, I want to go to USC, but I don't know how long Clay Helton's going to be there. I might go to Oregon. I might go to Alabama. I might go to Clemson, whatever it may be. And just having that uncertainty and not having that commitment long term really hurt this program, and it's to the point where it was going to be. And Clay Helton's a fine coach. It's just he probably shouldn't have never been that head coach in the first place. It's just, he got a shot. He probably should have been let go a few years ago, if not more. Like I said, he's been on the hot seat ever since 2018, and it's 2021 right now. So he's been on the hot seat for 3 straight years. You can't recruit. You can't be successful with that. Now, who is USC going to turn to? USC is a flagship program. I mean, if we look at USC and we compare it to the other top jobs, I think if you look at top 5 jobs in college football right now, you got Ohio State, you got Alabama, you got Clemson, and then what is it after that? Texas. They haven't had struggle to win there. I think USC is in that top 5. If it's instantly a program that you have everything in your power to win. And the Pac-12, up until this year, early, with Oregon's win over Ohio State, UCLA's win over LSU, they haven't had the success that we've seen in past years. But as we saw with Pete Carroll, USC can be one of the elite teams in college football. There's no reason that USC isn't up there with Ohio State, with Alabama, with Clemson. Maybe not Alabama. They're off to themselves. But there's no reason why USC can't dominate the West Coast and be that perennial playoff contender every single year. And the big key for them is to get this hire right and get the person that's going to keep the talent in California. Just look at all the talent that's leaving. Najee Harris, first-round pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers, went to Alabama. He's from California. DJ Uiagalelei, Clemson's quarterback. He's from Los Angeles. Hey, look at all the talent that's going up to Oregon. Talent is, Ohio State, Clemson, Alabama, all these top programs, all these SEC schools, Georgia, they're getting guys from the state of California. And they're leaving the Pac-12, they're leaving USC, so whoever USC hires has to win those recruiting battles and keep that talent. If they can keep that top flight talent in the state, that alone is going to get you. But the USC teams we've been seeing lately, they don't have those elite quarterbacks like we saw under Pete Carroll. They don't have those elite receivers. They don't have those backs that they used to have. All those guys are leaving. And so whoever gets hired needs to be that recruiter and keep that talent. So who will USC go after? Hey, now a couple of names that I think are going to get brought up that I don't think have a shot. Obviously Urban Meyer is out there. He's not leaving. Even as bad as the Jaguars looked in week 1 of the NFL season, he's not going to be that head coach right now. Okay? Who knows? Maybe they pull it. I think the Jaguars is Urban Meyer's last job. I think whenever he leaves there or gets fired, he's done coaching. Chris Peterson is another name. Don't see it happening. Chris Peterson is a reserved. I mean, right now he's retired and we haven't barely heard anything from him. You know, Washington was probably the biggest type of school that he went to. He retired from there. I don't think he's going to come back to a school like USC. What about some of the hot names of college football? Okay? Matt Campbell at Iowa State. Luke Fickle at Cincinnati. Now, I don't know. Matt Campbell's another guy. I think he's another coach that I don't know if the USC job is right. You know, USC is glitz and it's glamour, West Coast. You know, Matt Campbell is a Midwest guy. I think if he was going to leave Iowa State, it's going to be for like a Big Ten type school. I think, you know, you look at what's Ohio State if Ryan Day ever leaves, Michigan, Penn State, you know, those types of schools, I think are going to be the schools that we see Matt Campbell leaving for. You know, Midwest guy. I think his playing style and what he wants to do, I think that fits that Midwest, that Big Ten type football. Luke Fickle, he's a name that you got to consider because the athletic director Mike Baum at USC was the athletic director at Cincinnati that hired Luke Fickle, so they've got that connection, and I think that's a name that you've got to you got to contact him. You got to look at it once again. Is that a school that he's going to want to go to? Is he going to, Midwest guy, Ohio State guy? State of Ohio, he's got it pretty cushy at Cincinnati right now. Would you want to leave that? We've seen guys, look at Scott Frost in Nebraska. Had a great thing going at Central Florida, goes back home to Nebraska, has struggled. Does something like that make Luke Fickle be more patient? I know USC could be a top five program of all time, but would you leave Cincinnati? I mean, that says a lot for USC right now. Hey, a couple of names that I think are your true contenders. Okay, Mario Cristobal would be my number one choice. If I was the athletic director at USC, my first call, I would go after Mario Cristobal. He's recruited and built Oregon like an SEC program. He's dominated recruiting. He's got elite prospects. He's got those guys from California, other places, and we saw what they were doing this past year, and that's this past week with that win over Ohio State. You give him the resources and the proximity to those recruits in Los Angeles and Southern California, I think he can do wonders. Okay, so Mario Cristobal is my number one choice. Okay, but two guys that I think you got to keep an eye on, James Franklin from Penn State and PJ Fleck from Minnesota. Now, James Franklin, I think, would do wonders there, but he's at a good spot right now with Penn State. He's had success. I know last year was bad, with the pandemic and all that. We can't really think too much of it. But he's had success at Penn State. Would he want to take that next step up? What is that next step in the Big Ten? He's not going to go to Ohio State. Now, Michigan, I don't know. I think Penn State's a strong possibility. PJ Fleck is another guy. I think he would do well on the West Coast. His salesmanship, his recruiting. I think he's elevating Minnesota. They had that really good year. They took a step back last year. Once again, pandemic. They're struggling a bit this year with some injuries. But another guy that I think is a possibility, a strong choice for that job. And then, so I think those three are the strong choice. There's always going to be that USC guy. Jack Del Rio has been mentioned for their head coaching job. He didn't do too bad with the Raiders in the NFL. He's doing great with the Washington football teams as the defensive coordinator. But I think if you look at it, I think the top three candidates, Mario Cristobal, PJ Fleck, and James Franklin. And if I had to make a prediction right now, I think James Franklin is going to be the next head coach of the USC Trojans. I think it fits too perfectly. It's a step up from Penn State, and Penn State's a great program, don't get me wrong. But I think he's got what it takes to be there. I think he'd be a great choice for them, and I think he could get them back to being one of those elite programs in college football.